Welcome to the App Building Day, where we'll be working with Squirro's Insights Engine to build a new cognitive search app. We have with us today Peter Breza, a solution engineer in our London office, who will be guiding us through the demo and showing us exactly how easy it is to build such a cognitive search app. Me, I'm Patrice Neff. I'm one of the co-founders here at Squirro and work on the technical side of the team. As part of this webinar today, we will be answering questions at the end. So any questions that you have, please ask them in the chat panel that you should see on the side of this video today, so that we can pick them up at the end and answer them as we go. What we will be looking at today is first, what is cognitive search and how does the Squirro App Studio fit into this? But then we come to the really interesting part of today's presentation, which is a real live demo of how can you build your own search application using Squirro's online cloud services and do that within a very quick and easy process. You will at the end then see how you can start doing this yourselves by simply logging into our website and try and build out your own cognitive search application with your own data. What we solve with cognitive search is a fundamental problem that all of you will have encountered in your own organizations, which is that we all claim and kind of know that data has become extremely valuable. It has been claimed time and time again that data is now the most valuable resource. And at the same time, we see in every organization that very little of that data is actually being used. Just try to remember, if you're in a sales organization, when is the last time you were really able to make use of a good call note? Or if you're in an organization where you purchase data from external organizations, such as financial news or data about natural resources that you might need in your environment, etc. How much of that are you paying for but never really using? Research shows consistently that the number of data that is used again is as low as 1%. And that is really the deplorable state of affairs that has two main reasons, in our opinion. First, a lot of that data is siloed. It's split into different systems. It's not linked together. You cannot easily search for that data. Second, a lot of that data, if not most of it, is unstructured, meaning it is text, it is images, documents, videos that you cannot easily analyze in a business intelligence solution, that you cannot load into Excel and run some analysis on. And this combination leads to the state of affairs where you have data, but you don't have access to it, or you don't know even that it's there. With a cognitive search solution, you can solve that by democratizing this data, as Gardner calls it. You allow your users, your employees, to access data from all of these different silos in one uniform system where you can search the data, where it becomes readily visible, where it becomes actionable. For us, search is the foundation of this puzzle. What we do with our clients every single day is that we figure out what are the elements that we can build on top of this search solution. Search unlocks this data so that you can democratize it, that it becomes public to your employees. But we then build on top of that things like the Insights Cockpit or the recommendations, where it's no longer just about search, it becomes really about recommendations about what is the next best action in the context of any given task that you're faced with. So what we will see today, what we are focusing on today, is the foundation of this pyramid, how easy it is to get started with that. But keep in mind that also these additional building blocks, they are available and can be used as part of this platform. And in this whole process, we always think about these three steps of gather, understand, and act. So the first job is to gather to collect all of the data that is relevant to a specific use case, to a task from different systems. Doesn't matter whether those are internal systems, whether they are external, whether they are private, premium data, public data, to collect them all into one uniform solution. The next task is then to understand this data. Does this data talk about a specific customer of ours? Does it have certain topics, certain elements that are important to us? And finally, the conclusion that is supremely important to actually make use of this data is how can you act on this data? Can you get automatically from the system recommendations about what to do when a certain event happens? This, to us, goes into the pillar of ACT. In this context of cognitive search, we have the App Studio. The App Studio is an online offering that we provide where we give you two different elements. On the first hand, online demos, and on the next, we will see then installable applications. So the App Studio is a great way for you to go on our website and interact with some real world demos that have data already preloaded, that requires zero effort in setup. You just click on the demo, you try it out, and it's a real Squirro project that has data in there, that has all the workflows already mapped out. Next to that, you will also find installable applications. These all serve as a template, if you will, or as a foundation to build your own applications on top. Most notably at the moment is the cognitive search template or cognitive search application, where we allow you to add your own data. So you can simply use one of our ready-made one-click connectors or multiple of those to bring data into the Squirro installation. And within minutes, you will have set up your own installation where you can access your data and make it available also to your users, to your colleagues. You can go to our website on squirro.com/apps, or we will see later from Peter as well on start.squirro.com, where you have access to both of these elements, whether it's online demos or installable applications where you can bring your own data. Keep in mind when you work with this App Studio that this is not limited to the, for example, cognitive search template that we will see today. You do have access to the full complexity of the Insights engine, where you can work across the entirety of gather, understand, and act, and make use of all of these features. We will include at the end as well links on where you can then learn more about that. We have online training to learn about all the advanced features, about how to make use of them. But what we want to highlight today is how easy it is to get started with loading your own data and have a ready-made, easy to use cognitive search application at the end of this. And with that, we already come to the highlight of today's presentation, and we will now hand over to Peter, who will show us in production how easy it is to set up such an application. Thank you, Peter. Take it away.
Thanks for that, Patrice. So we'll now be moving on to the app building component of this webinar. As Patrice mentioned, there are a few ways in which you can begin building apps. However, one entry point is to access Squirro's self-service platform called start.squirro.com. So I'll just do that now. As you can see, when going on to start.squirro.com for the first time, you ask for your Squirro ID. Now, don't worry, any external user can create a Squirro ID by clicking on the register button over here. Now, I've created a Squirro ID specifically for this webinar, so I'm just going to fill in those details now. Great. This will log me into Squirro's self-service platform, and I now should be able to see a selection of installable apps and online demos that Patrice had mentioned previously. Great. So here we can see a number of these online demos and installable apps that Patrice had mentioned. However, for the purpose of this demo, we'll be focusing on one of the installable apps, in particular, the cognitive search app. In order to begin, simply click on Try Now, where you'll be given an overview of the app in question. You've got some information here about what this application can do, and more information available on YouTube as well. With that, let's proceed to install the app. Now, when installing the app, you come across this page called Instance Overview. Now, essentially what this page means is we're asking where you'd like us to set up this application for you. Now, I've already configured my own instance, so most likely I'll set up the application there. However, I'm pleased to inform that you can add your very own instance as well. So what this means is that you don't need to worry about provisioning servers or requesting servers to begin building applications with Squirro, but quite simply just create your own instance where we will give you a domain. And this instance is limited to 10 authorized users and can be used for a period of around 30 days. But given that I already have an instance set up, I'll just decide to install the application on this instance Squirro app day. I continue with the selection. It confirms that these details here. And with that, I can begin the installation. When configuring applications, this normally takes around 5 minutes, if that. When configuring your very own instance, this could take up to 10 to 15 minutes. We'll just wait a few minutes for the application to finish being set up.
While we are waiting for that, let me maybe just say a few words about the self-service environment here. So every single instance here is completely dedicated server. There is no data shared between different customers, between different clients. So you really have a completely private environment where you can load your data, where you can trust that no other customer will suddenly be able to see or access your data.
That's absolutely right, Patrice. These are your very own instances where you decide which users you want to invite, and they're completely locked off to the world unless you say so. And look at that, the application has already finished installing, and we have a link to easily access our newly created application. So we are now in the Squirro application, and we're greeted with this project setup page, where we'll be asked to set up data sources and also communities. So with that, I can click start. For this webinar, I will be indexing data from Salesforce and also Microsoft SharePoint using Squirro's one-click connectors. We have set up some fake data silos in both of these applications, Salesforce and SharePoint. So this is really mock data for us to use and test Squirro's data loading capabilities. I will now head over to the Enterprise tab within the data section of Squirro, and I will begin by setting up the Salesforce data loader. And this is really a one-click process. All I need to do is authenticate Salesforce with Squirro in order for Salesforce and Squirro to be able to share data respectively. I will quickly put in the details here. Now that we have entered the username and password, Salesforce is confirming with us that we want to give Squirro permissions in order to be able to index the required data. So I will just click allow, and this will take me back to Squirro. And as we can see, we've now logged in. So all I need to do is save and exit, and data will begin loading. In the meantime, why not set up another data source? I will click on the plus button. Once again, I will go to Enterprise, and this time I will click Microsoft SharePoint. Once again, we're asked to authenticate Microsoft SharePoint with Squirro. so that Squirro can ensure we have the necessary permissions in order to be able to index data.
While we let Peter do this, just wanted to add one important detail. At no point does Squirro store this username or password. Instead, we use a technology called OAuth, where these other systems are delegating access to Squirro, but they're not passing on any passwords to Squirro, and it's all done through very secure tokens that can also be revoked, for example, in the case of an attack on one of these systems.
Thanks for that, Patrice. So we have now finished authenticating the Microsoft SharePoint app. And once again, all we need to do is save and exit for data to begin loading. Great. And if you look at that, we can already see that we've indexed a number of items for Salesforce. And within a few minutes, we'll also have a number of items indexed for Microsoft SharePoint. And if you look at that, we have now finished indexing items from Microsoft SharePoint in just a few minutes. Microsoft SharePoint includes a range of binary documents ranging from text files to PDF that Squirro can automatically handle on ingestion. Salesforce Sales Cloud includes a number of Salesforce type objects such as accounts, tasks, and contacts that are indexed into Squirro. So now that we have configured the data loading, we can make use of the project guide to guide us on to the next best steps. So we have now loaded the data, so we can tick that off. And as we can see here, the next thing for us to do is set up communities. So by using the project guide, I can now proceed to set up communities. Communities is a feature that allows end users to specify their topic of interest. It was originally built on the idea of user preferences, where essentially by users subscribing to a type of community, this allows for personalized content in a series of dashboards for the cognitive search project, as we shall shortly see. So I'll now proceed to add a community. When adding a community, I'm first asked to enter a name, which is a form of label for the community. I'm also asked to choose a facet to map to. This is a form of keyword where Squirro is asking us for some field on which Squirro can extract the values to build such a community. So in this case, I'm going to select the account facet. This represents the different companies, and I'm going to call this company. It's also important to note that there are multiple ways of building communities. So whether you want to build communities dynamically from facet values, this can be done by using this checkbox, but you also have the option to add communities manually or even upload a file. Finally, there's an option to set up content labeling, or also known as known entity extraction. What this means is that when you index new data sources, you'll also have the option to automatically label ingested data with these communities. Like this, you are able to really maximize your value on the vast number of unstructured documents you may have. So with that, I will click that box, and I also have the option to choose between generic labeling and more advanced labeling for company names. So I'll just click that and click next. Well, what's going on now is that Squirro is creating this community based off the account value. And in a few moments, we'll now see this newly created community list.
There is a process going on right now, which I find quite interesting, which is Squirro reaches out to a picture service where automatically for each community, in this case, the company name, we recommend or suggest a picture. And that then looks really good on the final dashboards where every single community has a pretty picture attached to it, which can obviously also be changed. One thing that we will add over time is a specific picture database also for company logos. At the moment, we don't have that. The backend or the database that we use is for photos. So for company names, the results can sometimes be a bit funny, but we will over time also be adding a logo database so that especially for bigger companies, you then have automatically the right logos. But right now, what we have done is based on the company names from a photo database, we have auto-completed a picture that at least spices up the user interface a little bit.
Thanks for that, Patrice. That is absolutely correct. As you can see, we have a number of images available for these companies, and we look forward to extending this with the company image database. But for now, we have finished creating our communities for a company. So therefore, the next thing to do is to begin inspecting the dashboards. And we can do that by heading over to the dashboard space from the Squirro spaces. Because the cognitive search template is being used, a number of dashboards come pre-configured out of the box. These dashboards include the For You dashboard, an Explore dashboard, and the Communities dashboard. We'll begin by talking a bit about the For You dashboard. So the For You dashboard is the first dashboard, the first point of interaction for the user on the cognitive search project. Essentially, what's going on here is Squirro is asking you to select a community, select a topic that you are interested in. So for this example, I might select something like Airbus. I might also select Apple. And maybe I'll go for something a bit further down the list, such as, let's see, how about I go for Nomura Holdings. Great. So now that I've selected a few communities, if I go back to the top of the page, I'm now greeted with this button to essentially proceed with my selection by clicking on the Let's Go button. Once I click on that, Squirro informs me that I've successfully subscribed to the selected communities, and I can now begin to see my customized dashboard based on the communities I follow. So what's going on here is that we can now see the results for each and every community ordered by date. And this allows me to easily filter through the most recent documents for the communities that I am interested in. I'm also able to easily navigate to global feed, which would show the most recent documents for all the communities, not necessarily the ones I'm following. Great. Then the next dashboard that I'd like to go over is the Explore dashboard. So in the Explore dashboard, we have a number of filters available on the left-hand side. These consist of the My Communities, where we're easily able to navigate between the different communities that we recently subscribed to. So perhaps I'm interested in just viewing documents of Apple. I can easily click on the Apple community on the left-hand side. And now the result list has updated to reflect this. I'm also able to star documents by either clicking on them from within the preview, preview section, or also inspect the document in full screen, where I'm able to get a better view of this particular call note, for example. So now that I have starred that document, I'm also able to view it very quickly by making use of the starred documents filter. If I go back to all results, I can also perform complex searches, right? Using a variety of query language. So I might be interested in investment or funding round. And when I search for this, I can see now that the result list has updated. And if we begin to inspect some documents, we can see, so for example, this is a PDF document. We can see how Squirro makes use of query highlighting to really capture these results and to make it easy for us to find the information that we're after. Now, let's assume that I perform this search on a rather regular basis. If that's the case, I can make use of Squirro's save search functionality to save this search for next time so I don't have to retype it. I might call this daily investment news. On top of this, I can also create alerts that will send me updates to my personal email on a frequency that I can define, ranging from hourly to monthly. Great. So now that we have saved the search, we can easily access this search from the favorite filters on the left-hand side, where we can easily apply this. And once again, we have the same query applied. So next time we're interested in this particular query, we can just access it from the favorite filters. Great. And now I will move on to the communities dashboard. The communities dashboard provides an overview of all the communities currently available. Similar to the For You dashboard, we are once again greeted with this grid of communities where we can easily subscribe and unsubscribe to particular firms, particular companies. So if I am no longer interested in Apple, but interested in Amazon or interested in both Amazon and Apple, I can easily subscribe and unsubscribe to communities here. And if I wanted an overview of all the current communities that I am following, this can be done by clicking on the following pane here. So this has been an overview of the Squirro dashboards that come available as part of the cognitive search application. However, I'd also like to show you how easy it is to edit these dashboards. Quite simply, all I need to do is click on the Options button and click on Edit. As you can see here, this is Squirro's dashboard editor, which is quite simply a drag and drop interface with various visibility conditions available for you to build your very own applications by just dragging and dropping a number of widgets that come included out of the box. So for example, if I wanted to change this type of result list widget, or perhaps I wanted to add additional filters on the right-hand side, this would be possible just by using Squirro's dashboard editor, as can be seen here. Of course, Squirro also gives you the option to write your very own custom widgets, should you like to build more advanced widgets tailored to your company's specific needs. For more information on building applications or building widgets with Squirro, please feel free to get in touch. So this has been an overview of Squirro's cognitive search application with the Salesforce and Microsoft SharePoint one-click connector. We also highlighted how easy it is to set up communities and also how the dashboards could easily be extended to add even more widgets and customize it for your own needs. Thank you for listening.
Before we head to the questions, Peter, how about, could you show us all how easy it is to add somebody else to this project?
Of course. In order to add somebody, all you need to do is click on the top right-hand side, invite member. And here you're able to invite a user based on their particular email address and also specify whether you'd like them to be a user or an admin. So it's literally just 2 clicks, put in an email and select the role. And once you've filled in those, you can send the invite and they will have access to the Squirro application.
Thank you, Peter. And also as an addition, at any point in time, when you go to startsquirro.com and manage your instances, or I believe this is also available from the Spaces menu in your instance. You have the ability to actually manage the instance in other ways as well. Exactly. So if you go there to the cluster, and that includes a number of things. For example, you can add entire domains, which is very helpful if you want to give everybody at your organization access to this instance. Then by signing up on Squirro using their validated email address, they're then able to access this instance as well. And last but not least, this instance overview page, which we just saw, is also where you can delete your instance once you no longer want to use it. So if you decide during the trial that you would rather not use this further, then simply go here, destroy your instance, and all of your data will be securely and irrevocably deleted.
That's absolutely right. I might hold off on deleting it just yet, but good to know about that. Thank you very much, Patrice.
Thank you, Peter, for this amazing demo. I hope we all have the expression of this cute little boy of, oh my God, this was so easy. I want to go and do this myself. I, for one, am definitely really happy that I've been able to do this. I've indexed my own Gmail data. I've indexed our internal wiki, the Salesforce call notes, and it's just been so easy and amazing, really, to have this data at a touch of my keys readily available. So thank you, Peter. And now it's your turn, all of you kind attendees. You can try this yourself. You can go to our website, squirrel.com/apps, or directly cognitive search and get started. We will also, of course, be sending directly post this session an email with a link and instructions on how you can access this. You will, as part of this process, also then get information about the Squirrel Academy, where you can learn how to extend this Squirrel application with your own functionality that goes beyond this template, these ready-made dashboards that Peter has shown us today. Now I see that we have a number of questions. Let me just check here on my side. Okay, so question number one, I think that's probably one for you, Peter. Apart from Salesforce and SharePoint, would you have connectors for any other sources?
So that's a great question. Out of the box, we have a number of connectors available for plug and play. These range from premium data connectors, such as a Refinitiv data connector or a PitchBook connector. We also have more enterprise connectors, such as a one-click connector for Jira, for Confluence, and also Microsoft Exchange. And of course, on top of this, we allow end users to build their very own connectors in Python. Should you want to build some data loading solution for your own proprietary systems?
Thank you, Peter. I'll just add one clarification. The end users are not expected to build their own connectors. That's usually more an administrative question or an administrative task. But Peter is right. We have a extension interface where you can add any proprietary internal data source as well. And that's quite important to us because we see any project that we do with Squirrel, there is always one data source that we've just never seen before. And so the ability to very easily add new data sources or data connectors was and is very important to us. Now, looking at the questions here, you asked, which languages does your app support? There are a number of levels to this question. I think let's start with the user interface. The user interface can be translated as well into different languages. We have out of the box, we support the dashboards to be consumed in English, German, French, and Italian, and additional languages can be added with relatively low efforts. But a lot more important is actually the languages of the data that we index. And there for the indexing, searching, we support out of the box, if memory serves, maybe about 30 or so languages with all the requisite configuration of handling stop words, of handling the auto-completion, etc. for those languages. Those are all the mainstream Western languages. That includes then also Asian languages such as Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and of course also Arabic is a common language that gets used in Squirro. There are a number of additional elements where I think we'll probably better explore this in a one-on-one in terms of the AI components, for example, where language support is also can always differ a bit on the exact capabilities that are required. But overall, if in the context of this cognitive search, if you're worried about wanting to index your call reports and have them show up correctly and be searchable, then you needn't worry. We do take care of all those languages that you would typically encounter in your environment. And with that, I see we do have a few more questions, but I think we've reached the time for today. I want to be respectful of all of your time who have dialed in today. I really appreciate that you joined us on this webinar. Thank you again, Peter, for the great demo. For those questions that we were not able to now answer directly online, we will be following up with you directly, and we'll send you an email or give you a phone call if you have your number to discuss the questions directly. So thank you very much for your time today, and hopefully see you soon in one of our next webinars.